Hello, everyone. This is April Cox, and this is the Self-Publishing Made Simple author work group. I have actually branded the name in my own mind anyway. What do you think? This work group is all about making things as simple as possible for authors. This is our drop-in. We have a 2-hour slot, and I'm actually here a half an hour beforehand. So you have 2.5 hours where you can drop in, ask me anything. I have a few topics that I can throw out there to discuss and help you guys along. But we also have a special guest that we're going to start with today. Lyda Mclellan is our extraordinary speaker who did a recent episode with us on book publicity and marketing. So she is here today. She and I have been doing a little talking about what we can do to help improve the skill set of authors in those areas, because I don't know about you, but I am really weak when it comes to publicity and marketing. And we have Lyda here, who is the expert in all of those areas. And we've been just trying to brainstorm and talk about other ways we could serve this author community. So I'm going to let Lyda talk a little bit about some ideas that we've been throwing around and would love to get your thoughts. So feel free to jump in with questions. And then as Lyda drops, we'll get into some other topics for the rest of the group. Welcome, Lyda. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm really here just to answer anybody's questions about their own book, what I would recommend doing for your book on a PR stance as well. And really just so you guys can kind of pick my brain more than anything. I guess to kind of I was talking to April today, we had a really fantastic meeting just based on the workshop that I did for everybody earlier on, I think a few weeks ago on PR and publicity. I didn't really realize that how much of a mystery PR was for authors. Maybe because I have blinders on a bit, I've been in it for almost a decade. But that was one thing that really came out for me, is I had no idea that there was such mystery, and I'm so happy that I was able to demystify it for people too, and to really make it sound achievable, that you can get media's attention, that you can get your press release published by the media, and that journalists are looking for you. But the reason why they're probably not responding to your press release or your emails is because that they don't reflect that journalist's target audience. That's the biggest thing. If the pitch will work and you will get media's attention as long as what you're sending them is a reflection of what their current readership is looking for. If it's not, then why would they want to share something on their news channel or podcast that their audience is not interested in? And there's always a way to re-angle your story to get their attention. There's always a way to kind of seeing what's topical, seeing what the media is interested in, doing a lot of homework there. And it does take time, but the results are absolutely amazing and definitely worth it.
I think one of the things, Lyda, that I found most inviting for me, at least to learn more about, is that press kit and putting a press kit together and being able to really represent myself well. And I think for me as a new author, it was really an afterthought, and I know that that's not how it should be. So hearing you go over that really kind of opened my eyes on areas that I had just kind of skipped over as an author.
Yeah, I'll pull up a press kit right now just for people to kind of walk through. Is that the press kit should be something that's done before your book's even launched. And the press kit, I'd even almost recommend, I'm just going to pull up a new one that I did because I didn't share this one last time. 1 second here. But the biggest thing is that the press kit, it should be done before your book's launch, because you should be promoting and getting testimonials and getting a foundation of readers before you even launch your book. The biggest thing that I've seen is that even for traditional authors and publishers, is that they get demand before they buy the hard copy of their book. If you don't invest in buying hard copies of your books until you have some sort of demand. The demand doesn't need to be hundreds of readers, but you want to understand how many people are going to potentially purchase your book, and kind of get some sort of feedback from people, start getting testimonials, and that will help generate demand. Or else if you don't market your book before the launch, you're going to have crickets. And that's the worst case scenario. So with this one here, this is by Avanti, and this is the first book in her series, The Lost Power. I mean, this test, we basically re-added testimonials that we've got, because we've gone from New York Times bestselling authors. We've got like half of them are not even on here because we've just added 3, and we haven't updated it because it's just been insane how much feedback she's gone from just by putting out this testimony and asking for this press kit and asking for testimonials. So the things that you really want in a press kit, you need to have your cover here. This is the poster version, so this is the intro. You need to have your cover. You need to have the name that's book 1 in a series, the name here. Have a tagline of what it's related to. Use words that people are already familiar with of book titles, like the Da Vinci Codes, Tomb Raider, Harry Potter, like books that or movies that people are aware of that your book can relate to. A really short description. You want to have short sentences so that it's easily scannable, PR contact right away. And so kind of people can get a really quick snapshot of why this book is going to be amazing and why they should have invest their time into giving a testimonial. Then after that, you want to have like a short description here of what it's about. So this is a short description. This will be the same one on your back copy. Then your long description. You really do call it long description, short description. Make sure you have a tagline that's bolded about the author's short description. Your main characters, what they are. You don't necessarily need to have icons, but we want to, just because then that way it's more visual and people can really see what the characters are about. You want to give all the information that the media, journalist, or person providing testimonial can basically take and use right away. You don't want them to ask questions. If they're asking questions about your book, then your press kit has failed them. Then you have your meet your author. So this is where we give a longer description for them. Then we have the interview questions. So this is really important. You don't want to ask a question of like, when did you know you're going to be an author, or what made you start writing? Those are questions that I don't like. Journalists are not going to ask that. They're going to ask questions that are related to you specifically, or a really good journalist is going to ask those questions. So you want questions that only you could really answer. Think of like if Richard Branson, for example, is being interviewed by CBC, he's not going to be asked like, when did you know you're going to be an entrepreneur? He's going to be asked questions really that only he could really answer, that are related to him and specialized to him. He might get some general questions, but still the answers to those questions are still going to be very impactful and really branded towards him and his story. So you want to make sure that you have this here, that it's not, that nobody else can steal your responses to those questions. And we added a few. We want to make sure the questions can fill out just one page. It's okay if they go to 2 pages, but preferably just 1 page here. Then this is just kind of fun just for her to walk people through the story and to get people kind of excited about it. Then we have just the book series here. So we have like a new short description for each book in the series, then just the contact information. So it is pretty long, but the goal of a press kit is for people to get all the information that they can about your book. We don't, that way, like a lot of, I think I mentioned during the workshop as well, is that I've had it before with clients and author clients, is that we have sent out the press kit to a couple of journalists, media publications, and luckily because that their feature did not happen that they were planning to have that for that magazine publication. They had the press kit. They literally just took the Q&A and the photos I supplied and used that as their feature instead, which is awesome. I didn't have to do that much work. I only did this once, and it really benefited my author. Plus, not many people send press kits for authors, so you have a huge advantage in that area as well.
Can I ask a question, Lyda?
Of course.
For the have you worked with children's book authors or Christian authors? And it seems to me that some of these that have like novels, and they have backgrounds like football players and CEOs. It's like they're at a whole different level than we poor little children's book authors.
This is the most recent press kit that I've created. That's why I'm sharing it. Just because it's actually, I have done a couple of children's novels. So I've done one. She's her name is Jasmine. She used to be a Bollywood star, but she moved to Canada 20 years or 30 years before afterwards. And her book was on a spiritual level. She didn't want to have it tied to any religion at all, but she wanted to have it tied to where kids are starting to ask, like, why do people die? why to like ask those religious questions. And for people that, for teachers who don't want to talk about religion, or for mentors or people to children that are around children that don't want to talk about religion in itself, it's a great book to answer those questions for kids, where it still stems to like what religion talks about, but doesn't have to talk about religion right away. Especially, so that's great for middle school and elementary school students. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but what we did with her book is that we didn't push it on Amazon. We push it on for libraries, teachers, and more on a B2B standpoint, because that way we'd be able to get the book sales in bulk.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But does anybody have any questions? Because I know I went over a lot of this during the workshop, so I don't want to repeat myself too much of giving you guys a whole overview, which I know I can jump on right away because it's easy. I really want to just answer people's questions about their own book, and kind of if you have even marketing questions that you have, or business questions. See if there's...
One thing that I heard over and over again was just how overwhelmed people felt. Like it was such a foreign concept to them. And I know myself, I listened to the recording over and over again, trying to like make sure I was absorbing things. So what advice do you have for an author this is really new to them, and they're feeling really overwhelmed, like there's just so much to do and so little time left to do it before holidays?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, and that's it, and it's such and even I get overwhelmed with my own business. I've worked with CEOs, I've worked with small businesses and new authors. So I've worked with such a huge variety of different clienteles, and I've also have hired interns, assistants, everything. And the biggest similarity between a CEO that has a multi-million-dollar company to a first-time author to a small business is that overwhelm, and feeling that overwhelm is so normal, especially during peak season. So it's something that every single, you as an author, you are an entrepreneur, that every single manager, entrepreneur, there's always going to be a time that you're going to feel this, and it's so normal. And it's what makes us human. And to the biggest thing, because I know that what I gave in the workshop is it's a ton of information in an hour and a half, I believe. So it's definitely overwhelming, is knowing that you can't do all of the things. And that doesn't mean that, so that as an author, there's so many things that you can do. You have to publish your book, you have to market it, you have to do social media, you have to do ads, you have to do PR. There's already 5 things there. It's just choose one. You don't need to be on all of the social media channels. You can create accounts for them, but only focus on one. If you spread yourself too thin, you're never going to get anywhere. So it's if you only have 10 hours a week to dedicate to promote your book, is choosing wisely how to dedicate those 10 hours. And that could mean the first step, if let's say you're starting from complete scratch on marketing and promoting your book, is really creating a business plan. Whether your book is published or not published, is really focus on creating your business plan first. Who is your target audience? What's your value proposition? And that's going to help dictate of how best to move forward. Because if your book, let's say it's on, I don't know, I can't pull up a good example right now, but let's say you're focusing on B2B sales for your book, that doesn't mean you really need to focus on social media then. What it does, or even ads, what it does mean is that you need to maybe focus on LinkedIn depending on who your audience is, but PR is probably going to be the biggest route for you, because in order for B2B sales to work, is that you need to have a really big brand awareness and a big kind of getting a lot of people's attention at once and building trust. Because the moment you can put Huffington Post, the logo onto your website, or Forbes, or some national media outlet, that builds instant credibility and trust, and people will want to work with you. So in that sense, if your goal is to get B2B sales, then you don't need to focus your energy on social media, focus it on PR and building up those contacts instead. But the first step is really getting a business plan, creating an action plan based on that, and then and then following through with it. So make it achievable. Like if your goal at the end of the year is to say to sell 20,000 books, that's a great goal, but you want to create that into SMART goals instead. So you want to build that. How many books do you need to sell per month in order to make that actionable? And then what activities can you do during each month and each week to achieve that goal? So kind of break it down. The two options that you really have is that you can do it yourself. And as long as you are, as long as you're willing to do the research, and you're going to have to put in more effort to create that business plan and that action plan, because there's going to be a learning curve. So definitely get those free resources and consume as much information as you can. Or the other option is like hiring somebody to coach you through that process, or hiring somebody to do it for you. So like I did talk to April, and we are planning a workshop with everybody to offer to everybody. And I'm offering an exclusive price just to April circle, and that's where I'll hold your hand through the whole process, so that we would create a business plan together, understand and drill down who your target audience is, what's your book's value proposition. So your business plan that we'll do is really it will focus on a couple of areas. One, who your target audience is. Two, your value proposition. Three, the channels that you are going to use to deliver your value proposition to your target audience. And it's going to be different for every single person. There's no cookie cutter approach here. And then it's also, what is your key activities in order to produce value and produce sales and readership? Who's your distributors? Who's your key partners in order to those B2B people, or Amazon's just partnership? Who's going to help you get those sales? And then what's your cost and what's your revenue? So the revenue is both are going to be a reflection of your goals. The cost is so important, because that's going to dictate how much you are able to spend. How many books can you spend per month in order to make a profit? So we want to make sure that there's a really good balance, because the goal is always to make profit at the end. You don't want a whole bunch of money coming out without money coming back in, because that if it's all this money's coming out, no money it's coming back in, that's really scary. And we need to change something really fast in order to make it work. So the first part is the business plan. Then based on your business plan, that's the foundation. That's going to tell us how to move forward. What's the action plan that's needed? What are the steps that you need to take in order to find success? And what reasonable steps that you can actually take? If you can do only 5 hours or 10 hours or 20 hours, then we work that into it, because we want to make sure that you are achieving results, and we want to make sure that it's a reflection of how much time you can invest in it. And if you can only invest 5 hours, that's still okay. We can still move forward with that. So then afterwards, we want to create a series of hooks. We want to do your bio and your book description. We want to brainstorm pitch ideas. So the first part is really writing your bio and book description. So when you're thinking about a book, and whether you're shopping at a bookstore or on Amazon, the book cover is what draws people in to pick up the book. It's the book description, your bio, that actually makes the sale. And that's what the book description is, the converting piece. If you don't have if a person's holding your book and putting it back down, that means your book description did not sell the reader. And we want to make sure I have a specific formula that we'll use to write a book description that sells. And then, of course, we want to do the series of hooks. The hooks will be used in your press kit, to media, in your book, on the back cover and front cover. And we'd create a series of pitch ideas that will grab the media's attention. And these pitch ideas are not about your book necessarily. They're about the value that your book brings the reader. They're the value that makes the reader go into action. It's how your book can solve one of your readers' problems. Because everybody has tons of problems. We have day-to-day problems. Like I have a problem like, my pen broke, or that's a lame problem. So maybe my problem is like, it's just really hot out and I need to cool down. So that how does a resource and how does a business, how can they solve that problem for me? So I can buy into their solution. So a better example would be if your book is on bullying. The value that your book brings is that it can prevent maybe your book is geared towards people like 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds before they go into kindergarten. The value that your book gives is that it can help prevent kids from becoming bullies. And so the problem that a parent might have is that they're worried that their kid's going to be bullied, or they're worried that their kids are going to be the bullier. They're just worried about that. And so your book solves one of their problems. And if your book can solve a person's problems, instant sell. And that's what we want the book description and your bio to showcase. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I do have one a question with regard to that, because I think we had a brief talk, Lyda, about the fact that, you know, I have different target markets, like, you know, kids with autism or special needs really love my book, and that's like one target. And then there's, you know, labradoodle communities, another target. And I get so confused because I'm like, okay, who do I write this description to?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's really like, you can write, for the book cover, and that in the book sense, for the back cover of the book, it would be more of a general, how can we write it for all three? And that's something we'd work out together, because I don't have the complete answer now, because it would take research and to understand the similarities between those audience segments. But for the press kit, we would write it for each one. So we would make sure it's for each one there instead. But it also really depends on who's going to buy your book first. And that's going to be the biggest indicator. Because if you have three audience, let's say two of those audience segments maybe will get 5% each from book sales, and the other ones we get all the sales, then we know which one we're going to be targeting for everything first. Because it doesn't make sense for the back cover to do a general book description if majority of your book sales, like 70-80% of it, is going to come from one audience segment. We definitely want to write to that one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pause for a second and see if there's anyone that has other questions before we move on, Lyda.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to take yourself off mute, guys.
Like my book is geared toward religion.
Mm-hmm.
So for my PR, would I more or less contact churches and schools and religion stores? Is that my best bet? I don't know.
What is
Going
your
online.
book about, though? Sorry to interrupt. What is your book about?
It's called Dear Lord Jesus, and it's about getting kids to go to church, or why we go to church. Why do we go to pray? Why do we kneel? Why do we do communion? Just all the answers. And then at the end, he's kind of like writing a letter to Jesus. So at the end, Jesus writes a letter back saying, I love to see you come to my church and pray. It makes me happy. And reasons why we go back and forth. So, I mean, yeah.
Is it like the kids, is it the kids that don't know why they're going to church and they're asking their parents this and they're struggling with the concept of it? Or is it for parents who are thinking about that they should take their kids to church for the first time?
Probably for both, but more or less I got it from my son, who never wants to get up in the morning and says, I don't want to go to church today. Can't we just go next week? Mm-hmm. So it kind of falls on that line, why Jesus wants us to come to church every week to see him.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. So I think that for on a PR stance is that there's so much media in the Christian community. I'm always blown away by how much media and bloggers, influencers are there, because it's such as people don't target it. When for Christian books, they always target local and national media, but they forget that there's this whole industry of people, of bloggers, media, and influencers that are focused on Christian. Because like Mind, Body, Soul, Green Mama, they're both Christian, and you would only know it if you read their about page and if you looked up the products and that they endorse too. So that, because it's not, they do talk about it, but it's not this huge frontal of their media. That's why. So there is a huge industry there. And I think that for you, because you're targeting moms on and their children, I'd focus on mom bloggers and lifestyle bloggers that are Christian moms. And there's thousands of them. So it's a really big audience for you. And I'd focus on that first before you do media, just because your niche market is parents that want to explain to their kids of the importance of going to church, of the importance of praying, and why. Because I remember when I was a kid, I would always ask my parents why too, like why we're going to church, like why. Because I even like a lot of time I remember seeing Veggie Tales, and I was so young that I didn't get the relationship all the time because I was too young to understand.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
No worries.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Your services and you doing some sort of package deal with April's people and the whole process of a kit and whatnot, how long duration-wise would something like that take? Like,
Yeah.
how long would we plan, to be with you to complete that process?
Yeah, so good question. It's going to be over 2 months. And so we'll start September and end in October. And we'll be meeting every single week for just over an hour. And I'll be walking you, what you're going to get out of it is you're going to get your business plan, who your target audience is, and then the action plan. We're going to create your press kit together, your book description, your bio. We're going to optimize your Amazon page based on your target audience. We're going to write a series of pitches and create that press kit. And then we're also going to start working on getting you guys media attention, and getting you guys connected with bloggers, getting you guys testimonials from specific influencers, authors, media, journalists, etc., and really focus on getting you guys those results and media placements.
Okay, and then we started right away, or whenever you're going to do your first session, and you said it's going to end approximately October. That's going to put us really close to being able to launch and whatnot for the holidays, correct?
Exactly what Lyda and I were thinking.
Yeah. So we need to start this like today.
It is a fast-paced workshop. So, I mean, it is 2 months, and I'm really holding your hand through the whole process. And it's all going to be recorded. I'm going to help you guys edit everything. I'm going to help you guys really walk you through of how to find those journalists and that media that will want to work with you, and how to craft that pitch to get the response from them. And I'll be giving you all my tools, everything. So we will be meeting once a week, but you'll know exactly what tasks to work on every week. So you're not going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to break it down with you, so you'll be focused on this week's tasks, next week's tasks, and it'll be really actionable. So you're going to see the results come in. And then even after those 2 months are over, you're going to be able to continue going forward, because my goal is that you guys will be comfortable doing your own PR by the end of the 2 months. So by the first month is really creating all those materials necessary for you guys to be successful. Second month is putting that into action and start getting results. So even if your book's published or not published, this is still relevant for everybody, because this is something that every single person needs in order to get results in the PR world. And this also is a reflection of book sales and getting readers, especially getting readers, because the moment doing social media and doing ads, for example, on Facebook ads, is that you're going to, if you do run a Facebook ad, for example, and you're spending, let's say $20, let's say your cost per click or cost per view might be 50 cents or $1, that it's expensive. Maybe if your cost per click is only $1, then that means you spent $20, you're only reaching 20 people. But if you get on something like Huffington Post, Thrives, or even a local Jillian Harris, which is a local blogger from Kelowna. She has maybe 500,000 followers. I don't know the exact number actually, so don't quote me on that. But you can reach so much more, many more people all at once versus just spending your money on ads. Plus, by putting that person's logo or that media's logo on your website or even on your book, just generates instant trust with your market. When I look for a book, when I'm purchasing a book for anything, I look at the testimonials. I look at, is there enough trust that it's worth my time? I don't base it on the cost of anything. Mm-hmm. Oh, she just hit 1 million. Thank you.
That's amazing. And just to add, I felt like the synergy with what Lyda and I have been talking about, this is exactly the methodology that I've used for you guys going through the self-publishing process for the first time. And it's just been so rewarding for me, and also for everybody else that's not getting stuck or feel like they have support through it. So I don't know about anybody else, but I'm so excited about this, and I will be the first one to sign up, Lyda, because I feel like I need this so badly.
I'm the second one to sign up for sure.
Yeah, I feel like without this, we're just not going to be as successful. And if I count the dollars that I have wasted on Amazon ads and Facebook ads and Pinterest ads and Instagram, I just feel like I'm just throwing good money after bad and not really having somebody to handhold me through it. I feel like there's a very small number of authors who are successful, and I just want it demystified. I want somebody to walk me through, and it sounds like you're taking part of that accountability for our success and working with us to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my goal is like if I fail, if people don't get results, that's really especially with PR. Because like when I've worked on a lot of like huge national, international PR teams. I've been a part of that, and it's been great. But when you hire a PR agency, is that they can't guarantee results and success. So I think like the starting point on a PR agency is starting at $2,000 for them to do all of the work, and that's still quite low, and that's really unaffordable for most people, most entrepreneurs, small businesses, and authors. But the hardest part is that they can't guarantee results, and that's not fair when you're spending that much money and you can't do that. But with this is that you can't necessarily track results with PR, but there's ways to get around it where you can. And what I want to guarantee, like what I'm going to aim for, is that everybody really walks away with knowing how to get media attention and start really getting those results. And I think the first step to get those results is that you don't focus on national media. We focus on a ladder effect. And that's what we're going to do in the workshop, is we're going to start with the low-hanging fruit. So your local media, your local bloggers, because those are the people that are already in your community. You don't realize it because they want to support their community too, because you all grow at once. And then we're going to start reaching higher and higher and higher for more bigger media and more bigger journalists as well. So we want to do a ladder approach. And the reason why a lot of the people that hire agencies at this high ballpark is that they reach for the stars at first, and then they don't get the results right away. And that's not, it's just, you have to start small and then you grow from there. And it's kind of like a flywheel effect. I don't know if people have heard that phrase before, but it's kind of, you slowly start pushing it, and then it slowly starts moving on its own. And then you keep on pushing it, moves faster and faster and faster. And that's the approach that we want to take with PR too, is that we want to kind of see it as a domino effect, is that once we get a couple of great media hits in, all of a sudden everybody's going to want to start working with you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And as a newbie, like just starting this whole process, I'm trying to analyze and figure out the steps in which to do things. And in my opinion, I think this all should be done first. Like I feel like a lot of this stuff should be done even before the book launches, and before you're even on your journey with your book, because I think that's just going to set you up for success.
Yeah, 100%. I think like every year, every few months, I guess it changes, is that the authors that I work with, I'd say it's almost 50-50, where 50% of it, the authors I work with, we do work on their PR before their book launch, before their book's ready, and the other 50% is after. It's because the people that after their book launch is that they realize that they need the PR and marketing, and they come back to me, or they come find me. And that, so it's about 50-50. But if you look at traditional publishers, they focus on PR months, at least 6 months before the book launch. And that's why a lot of those books are more successful, is because they've done the foundation beforehand. The very first thing that you guys will want to work on is getting testimonials. That's the very first thing. So we want to get testimonials from other authors that are where you want to be in 5 years. We want to get testimonials from journalists. We want to get testimonials from people who have influence with your target audience, because that will generate trust. Not only that, is that once we get testimonials from them, is that they're going to share your book with their audience, which is a potential route to get book sales. We also want to get testimonials from librarians, because that will get our foot in the door to help get you guys, to help them order your book. So traditional publishers will actually target libraries first. They actually invite librarians to all of their festivals, fairs, everything, or they do it, or they focus on sharing the press kit, because librarians are a huge push to get sales for them.
So you just maybe send all these people like an ebook, or you send them a copy of your book, or what are you giving them when you're at the very beginning stages of everything?
I don't send them the book at first. I send them the press kit, and just an introduction. It depends on the librarian too of where they are. If it's local or for a major city, I'll definitely send an email introduction. Sometimes I'll ask if they would like to see the press kit, or I just attach it. And then I always depends on the author. But if for first-time book authors, I like to really do a lean strategy where we focus on where we don't put much investment in sending hard copies out, at least at first. So we'll send an e-copy version instead, and it'll still be an ARC, which is advanced review copy. So there will be errors, and the library will know of that already because they'll have ARC on there. But we'll send the only people that I aim to send hard copies to are big time journalists, people that hold a lot of influence, like Conrad Black. I would always send him a hard copy unless he asked for an e-copy. Same with Margaret Atwood, always a hard copy unless she asked for an e-copy. So people like that, it's just it's just an expectation that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You are just a wealth of information, Lyda. I can't get over it. I'm getting excited. And, before I used to get frustrated, overwhelmed, and just kind of shut down whenever I thought about all the marketing efforts, because I had no clue where to begin, and it was just not my forte. Put me in front of a computer, my propeller head, put me with people to try to pull projects together. Yes, but marketing, I was completely out of it. And now, instead of feeling stressed and upset, I'm feeling hopeful and excited that I can learn this, keep my brain fresh, because I'm going to be learning all these new things.
I agree.
I'm so excited. Yeah, because marketing, it is overwhelming, because all these resources they're free, and all these blogs, everything, and all of them are none of them are giving you wrong information. They're all just saying, but the hard part is that they're telling you to do all the things, and if you do all the things, nothing works. For my own business, Talk Plus Tell, of growing it for over a year and a half, I guess almost 2 years now, is that I focus on one or two things, because my main goal is to work on my clients, and I think I have around 10 hours that I spare to work on my business. But if I did Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, everything, nothing would get done. In order for me to grow successfully, is that I have an assistant, two interns that work on my business for me and to help and support me. But if I did everything, if I've outsourced the things that I don't enjoy doing, because those things are the things that I'll never get done. And it's so important to recognize that and to outsource that, because then you're going to be able to move faster.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question. Do you recommend Kickstarter campaigns at all?
To an extent. I've done a few. I've never done a Kickstarter campaign for an author. I've only done them for brands and products. They've been extremely successful, and it helps create demand. There's so many different things that you can do. It really depends on, do you need the budget up front? Do you need the income up front in order to reinvest in your book? Then definitely go the Kickstarter route. But if you have the budget right now to really grow your brand, then I'd focus on that, because with the Kickstarter campaign, you're still going to need to do PR. You're still going to need to invest in ads in order to make the Kickstarter campaign successful. Plus, you're going to want to invest in other Kickstarter campaigns, because then I scratch your back, they'll scratch your back kind of thing. But I'm not an expert in the Kickstarter campaigns for authors. From what I've seen, they can be successful. It does take a lot of work, and it's going to take 6 months to prepare for that, to make it work as well.
Yeah, and Lisa, we do have a couple of presentations coming up. One with Lisa Furland, who is a crowdfunding consultant, and one that's just going to bring in some people who have had success and not so successful with Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and they're going to share their stories. So you'll get that over the next, I think it's 2 weeks from now, mid-August. Oh, the 22nd, I think, for Lisa. And then the prior Tuesday for other folks coming in. So we're going to be talking a lot about that over the next week or two.
And I've talked to Lisa before, and she's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
she's done a great job on Kickstarter campaigns and everything. So I definitely go to her to ask those questions.
Yep.
Any other questions for people? I can go over the what to expect with the workshop just in a bit more detail if that's what people would like.
Sure. I think that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, so it'll be over 2 months period. We'll meet together once a week, and plus it'll be recorded as well. So it'll be the same time every week, and I'll be running a poll just to see what hours and times work the best for everybody, just to keep it consistent. For the first 2 weeks, we'll really be building up your business plan, who your audience is. And we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to know what's already working. So we're going to look at who your competitors are, what's working for them, what's not working for them. Maybe I should not use the word competitors because I don't like using that word for publishing, because I find that with authors, it's a community, is that you want to work with those people as well. You want to get testimonials from those people, especially the ones that are 5 years where you want to be. So those are the people we're going to look for. And we also want to see what language they use and what language their current readers use to engage with them. And we want to replicate that because we know it's working, but we want to put it into your own words and your own tone. But it's so important not to reinvent the wheel when it comes to your marketing and PR, because we want to know what works. And if we're reinventing the wheel, then it's always going to be a constant struggle. So we're going to outline your business plan. I follow the business model canvas, which is a lean business strategy. It's very visual, and it's more of a graphic that we fill out together. And what we do based on that is that it's lean. It's based on data as well. So everything we do should be based on data and analytics of how much traffic is one post getting, or is this, like, we want to see, is this pitch, we're sending out a pitch to 50 media contacts, it's a similar pitch. We want to know what the open rate is. We want to know what the click-through rate is. So we're looking at the data for everything. Once we have your business plan, that's the foundation. That will set the tone of how to best move forward for each and every author that participates in the workshop. And that is also going to help us write the hooks, the pitches, the bio, and the book descriptions. That's going to help get you guys results, because it's the pitch, the book description, and the hooks that really engage with the people and get people to engage with you, get the media's attention, get people to pick up your book and purchase it. The more engaging we are, the better conversions we're going to get. So that's going to be the next 2 weeks after. And then we're going to really create your, teach you guys how to optimize your Amazon page, because that's so important. The worst case scenario that I've seen before is that, let's say you get on national television. We'll just kind of reach for the stars there. So you get on national television, or you're on a local podcast, but it's something that's like something that's over the phone interview. It's not being written up. And then people will hear your name, or they'll hear certain keywords, and they Google you. And if they can't find you, we just lost them. So we want to make sure that your pages are optimized with the keywords that you're going to be using in your book and in any contact with the media as well, because it's so important that there are people who find who listen to you on radio or TV, that they're able to find you as well. We're also going to create those series of pitches, create your press kit as well, and then we're going to really start outreach and getting the media's attention, walk you guys through how to email the media, what times to do, what tools I use, like Hunter, Harrow, everything, to see what the media is looking for. There's also tools out there that I'll show you guys of how media will sometimes say that they're looking for, they'll send out queries of like articles that they're working on. They're looking for quotes. How you guys can find that. There's also strategies that we'll go into is how to get your book into goodie bags in special events in Hollywood, New York. So there are event organizers that are constantly on the lookout for things to add to their goodie bags that are sent directly to influencers. And the only cost that is for the author is the cost of the product itself. So I've done this before with a couple of authors and with products, and it's amazing. We get a lot of testimonials right away from this because people do look at what's in their goodie bag. So it's really great to make that connection. Mm-hmm.
You bring so much knowledge, and it's exciting to hear how all of this could actually come together. And it's very, for me, I think, when I first started and released my first book, I felt like, wow, I really, I've been through a battle of 9 months or whatever it took at the time, but I felt like I'm a self-published author. But what you're talking about makes me feel like, wow, I'm on the same path as those that are, New York Times bestsellers. I'm doing all the things that they're doing, and I'm taking it up a professional level. So it just feels like such a different path altogether.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so much fun once you start getting those first results in. It's kind of this buzz that you can carry forward. With this one author, his name is Ben, and his book, we're aiming to have it launched, setting a launch date in September. It's just been held up due to because he works with the RCMP. But what we've done in the year beforehand is that we're aiming to get almost 100 testimonials by September, and it's all by influencers, journalists, people who are his target audience. And it was a domino effect. It took us a few months because I wanted to read the books. They had to read the book before they provided a testimonial. But once they started coming in, it just became a domino effect. Once they saw other professors' names in there, once they saw other high-profile influencers in there, everybody wanted to, not everybody, but a lot of people wanted to provide their testimonials and help out with the book too, which is fantastic. And it's just so rewarding to see that you're seeing those results come in. And plus, because of these testimonials that we're getting, we targeted first professors, then we're targeting people in the UN, politicians, because that's his target market, is that these professors that have provided testimonial, we're going to go back to them once the book is published to tell them the book is available. Do you want to order it for your university school too? And a lot of them have already shown interest in that. So even with librarians, every librarian that's given us a testimonial so far has said that they're going to order the book for their library. So that's also a yearly check that this author gets, because you'll get a check from libraries based on how many people rent out your book as well. So we're already, even though his book's not launched yet, we're still creating that groundwork for a successful launch.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for me, though?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have several little paperback books out, and my website is pretty much geared to those books, and they're animals, okay? And they're facts, so it's kind of fiction, nonfiction books. But this one manuscript I have is about a little girl and her grandpa, and I kind of really like to do that. It just seems like so fast because I need to find an illustrator, and I'm still having it critiqued. I guess I should just forget the critiques and just go right into editing. But I'd like to do this with that book. But see, it's not going to be compatible with what I've already set up on my Amazon and my website.
Like, do you mean like the book is different from the other book, or what do you mean?
Yes, it's very different from the other books. The other books have facts in them about the animals. It's a story about the animals. Well, like loons. I have loons, quail, and trumpeter swans.
Oh,
so I self-published them all, and but this one is about a little girl and her grandpa, and I've had positive feedback from people who've read it. But so that's going to be a different, very different direction for me. Okay. But I'm excited. I'm getting excited about what you're saying and to market it, because it's going to be marketed so much differently than the other books.
Yeah. The other books, is that targeted towards a similar audience, or is it very different audiences that they're targeted towards?
Mostly my target audience has been grandparents, aunts, uncles, because they don't pull the kids in so much. And also there's sounds in my books. I have QR codes that give the sounds of the animals.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's what draws the kids in, but mostly, I would say 90% of my sales go to grandparents as a novelty item that they buy for their grandchildren. You disappeared.
We lose Lyda?
I'm right here now.
You are.
That sounds really cool. So I think that there's such a huge market for that too. And that there's you could do Zoomer magazine. There's a lot of magazines that are targeted towards more seniors as well. And plus I find that grandparents are constantly looking for books to to buy for their kids. And I don't find that there's a lot of children's books that are marketed towards them. A lot of children's books are marketed towards teachers and their parents as well. So I think you have a really good avenue there for your book. But what I'd suggest doing almost is really for your first books that are fact-based around that area, is that the current audience that have purchased that book from you, would they also be interested in this children's book?
They might be. They're pretty regional. Loons are up here in Minnesota, quail are in Arizona in the Southwest. So they're pretty regional books.
Mm-hmm.
But this grandpa one, I think, is universal because all children have a grandpa.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm thinking it's two different markets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to do something with the books already. I mean, like what April says, I'm on like a treadmill trying to keep up with all these books that I have. I got compulsive and I'm obsessed, with these little books that I've written, and so now I can't even keep up with myself. And I'm still writing other manuscripts, so I'm just going, I'm exploding. But I do have, I'm close to this one, the grandpa one, that I would like to pursue. But like I say, I've got to get it illustrated and edited first and then illustrated and then go into what you're talking about with the business plan and stuff.
Yeah, I think that based on what you've described, the reason why I asked those questions is that I think you can have them all branded under the same brand. That's why.
No, Lyda, you're cutting in and out.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I was saying that you can have them all under the same brand, which is why I was asking those questions. That way you don't have to double up on the work, which is really good because I definitely see some alignment with them of like facts on that end, and for your animals and then the children's books, they kind of work really well together. Is that if people that the grandparents that have read this book on facts on animals, they might purchase this book as well, and vice versa. So that's really cool. I'd have to see the books to know and understand more, but with that as well is that I definitely your niche market is just focus on seniors and just really focus on that. Don't focus on the teachers or the library. You definitely focus on librarians as well, but focus on that one niche and you'll be able to grow faster versus on multiple target audiences, especially if you have everything going on at once. It's easier to focus on that one audience first. And then also is that I do know an illustrator that does do a lot of animals. There's two Malamutes right here, which you guys might have seen her pop up or here. Yeah, they're really.
The illustrator would be not doing animals this time. It would be doing a grandpa.
Okay.
And little girl.
Yeah, that's something we can talk about later as well. Because I can ask them and see if that's something they can do. Because I do know a couple of illustrators that I can introduce you to.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barbara, I'll also add that some of the ones that I've introduced to this work group are actually available. And I've been working with Harry Avera, and we
the
are.
One I think would do it. I think you do a good job with it.
Right. And he's 3 to 4 weeks for illustrating a whole book. I couldn't even believe. And I think we actually have, Patty is on the line, and we just walked through the book, and he and I just looked at somebody else is looking to get some help with illustrations, and he says 4 weeks is all that he needs. It just needs to be through the editing process, and we need to do a really good job of communicating, and that's why I like to align myself with the illustrator and work as a project manager to pull it all together. But I am absolutely glad to talk with you about that if you need help and you want to just kind of back into the timeline and see if we can make it work.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. And yeah, just what April said, it's so important to manage that and have that content brief as well as examples of what you want, because you really want to direct and set those expectations of what you're looking for illustrations. Mm-hmm. Does anyone does that answer your question though?
I have it. Yes, yes, it does. Thank you very much. But I like your idea about just targeting the seniors. So I need to find where they are. I mean, I live in Phoenix in the winter, so I know where they are. They're in Mesa and then they're Sun City. But I need to get into those. Well, I do street fairs and arts and the parks and everything. I've been real busy doing that a lot.
And there's actually retirement centers as well. And retirement centers actually have weekly newsletters that they send out. And some of them even have their own newspaper that they give to their audience, to the retirement seniors that live there. My grandma was part of a retirement center in BC, Canada, and they got weekly newsletters and they had a magazine, and there was hundreds of seniors that lived in this community. So it is quite a huge area to go into. And I really don't think that there's a lot of authors that target this area.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to, and it's so obvious. It's like the nose on my face, what you just said, because I know what's out there in Sun City. I used to work out there, so I know there's tons of rec centers, but I didn't really pursue it. It's so, you've brought sunshine. I mean, you've given me something that, a goal to work towards when I get back to Phoenix. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Awesome. But I can take my last question because I do have to get going. I didn't realize that it was after 6 already, or 6 my time. Does anybody else have any other questions for me?
Sounds like we're good.
Awesome.
And
Okay.
really, really helpful. And did you want to talk about pricing and what you're thinking about? And maybe we get some ideas and feedback about what we're looking to do with this and how to sign up and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I'll just put my email here in the messaging area here. 1 second. There we go. Yeah, so originally, because this is going to be my first workshop with this group as well, so it'll be 2 months of really jam-packed work. We're going to do 1.5-hour group meetings every week. You'll have access to the recorded meetings, and there's going to be worksheets for everyone. Plus, there will be a 24/7 student-only community on Facebook that you'll have access to ask any questions. So you have unlimited questions from me that you can ask, and I'll definitely respond within 24 hours, if not sooner. And so the price point will be $500 for the 2 months. And that's going to be the first time. Once after this workshop's over, it's going to go back up to $1,000. So this is an exclusive price. I'm only offering April's Circle of Authors. But I just want to see if that's something that's reasonable with you guys on your budget as well. Because I want to make sure you guys are getting results 100% from the workshop. But I also want to make sure that you guys are getting enough value from it as well. That you see that that is action packed, that there's going to be a lot of resources, and that you'll have 24/7 access from me in the Facebook group too.
Yeah, from my perspective, Lyda, I think it's invaluable. I've spent, $500 on a month on advertising, and just it went in 1 year, and in and out, and Amazon made Amazon's wallet fat and didn't do a lot for me. And the other thing that I do like is I assume that you could take PayPal or something like that, because PayPal has that, 0 interest. If you want to break it up into 6 payments, that you could actually break it up if you needed to in order to reduce the amount per month that you pay.
Yeah, so I accept credit card payments, e-transfers, and those areas as well. So that's no problem.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Price will work for me. This is Patty.
Hi, Patty. This is going to be so awesome for you.
Cool. Yeah, because I really did some calculations on the price point to make sure that, because it's the first one as well offering to this group, so I want to make sure that you guys get everything, you get enough of 2 months and everything that you guys need to put a strategy into action and see the resource and the results from it as well. So you really create the foundation, which is the business plan, everything you need to be successful, and then we work together to go through the whole process where you can engage with the journalists, getting those getting that traction with the media, getting those interviews and everything, and that way you leave the workshop being able to carry that forward. And you still have a great group of 10 people
and if not more, to really engage with and to have like you friends, PR friends, basically.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, is it's a community like we are here with our author work group. It's a community. You're working together towards the same thing. So you don't feel like you're out, you got a one-on-one coaching for an hour and a half and now you're off on your own. You have, that community to be able to work with. And most of the authors here have been working together now this is the 7th week. So we've got that really good bond across a number of authors here that I'm sure would partner up and work together on some of this stuff too.
And that's so important because it's so lonely being an entrepreneur, because every author is an entrepreneur. Your book is a product. You have a business. It's your brand. And it can be lonely. So I find it so important to have that community. Like for myself as an entrepreneur, I have mentorships. I have people that I check in on. I have like my own community that I've established as well, because it's so nice just to run off ideas with them. And yes, it would be USD in American dollars. Oh, awesome. Where are you from, Lauren? What part in Canada? Oh, Calgary. Cool. We're neighbors. I'm in Kelowna right now, so I'm just visiting Kelowna. So I'm not at my regular desk, but I'm in, so we're pretty close by. I'm usually in Vancouver, BC.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, but feel free to email me any questions that you guys have. I will be emailing April the landing page for the workshop, hopefully tomorrow, if not as soon as possible this week, to share with you guys, which will have the outline of all the modules, what to expect, what you guys will gain from the workshop and walk away with, and like the results that you guys are going to get. And that's so important, is to really be result oriented when you do anything when it comes to promoting your book, is that it needs to have SMART goals behind it.
That sounds wonderful. I'm so excited. Thank you, Lyda. And thanks for taking time out of your day. This was really, really great. And it was a great surprise to hear from you and say, oh, can I drop in? And this was awesome.
I know that you said people had a lot of questions, so I thought it's just always easier to answer it live and everything. And feel free to email me if you guys have any questions. I'll respond within 24 hours. I hope everyone has a great evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lyda.
So what do you guys think?
It's a lot.
It's what? It's a lot. I mean, it's for me, it's an investment too, because right now I'm depending a lot, and I'm counting every penny. But for me, I feel like I'm at a point where I have to do that. I have to make that investment in myself. And I just don't feel like I'm going to be able to move forward at the pace that I want to without it. So that's what I'm going to focus on, I think.
Do you think it might be more valuable to have more than one book under our belt before we'd start something like this?
I don't, but I mean, certainly I think I really do wish I had done it before my first book, because I feel like I would have had that ability, because when you got a book or 2 or 3 under your belt that you don't have that background, then there's launching to crickets, there's frustration, there's so many people that I've seen actually abandon and say, you know what, I'm just not going to do this. I'm not very good at this, or I can't market, or my book's not selling like Jay Maletsky's or Diane Albers. So it must not be a good book, or I might not be a good author. And so all the doubts and things that come in, when I look back at how I went through all that, what it really boils down to is that I didn't know how to do it correctly. And there's a skill set missing. And some people just naturally have that marketing PR slant to what they do. And that's just not me. So I feel like I need that. And I wish that I had it, because I've got 4 books out. And I just feel like I could have done such a better job had I known then what I'm starting to learn now. So it's a very personal thing that, you're going to need to think about. But regardless of whether you want to move in this direction and learn more about PR or not, this group will always be here. I'll be here to support you. Whatever we learn together as a group, those who are able to join. And I think she said she was limiting it to like 10 seats. And because she wants a small group. So if she, if we have a group of 10 people, many of them are going to cross over into this group. And so we'll be sharing and talking about a lot of this stuff, I'm sure. Not that you're going to learn everything we will, but there'll be discussion topics, and, there's cross-pollination there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Good question though, Lauren.
April, is she counting on this group to get her 10 people?
I don't know if it's just us that she's going to be marketing to. My assumption is she's starting with us, and it's going to be a small group and no more than 10 for a class. Now, if we decide that, of the 50 people that are in this work group, and I had 35 in the last work group, if we find that there's more than 10 people that want to do this, then what I might suggest to her is that she offers it 2 days a week, so that she has 2 classes. That way you can still get a lot out of it. And if you miss one day in one class, you can kind of drop into the other one and still get that live coaching versus just watching a replay. So we'll have to see. I don't know, if we'll get, even if we just have 3 people, to me, it's worth, a small group to really dig in. The smaller the group, probably the deeper we'll be able to dig into all of this stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm just hoping she'll run it if there are only 3 of us or a few of us.
I do have her commitment that we will move forward, even if there's just a few people.
Okay.
So I'll verify that with her and ask her what her minimum is. But I'm also going to get her permission to post the offer to the Facebook group Diane and Jay Maletsky run. So I think that there are a number of people that would love to be a part of that, but I don't know if that would open it up too much for her.
It might open it up too much. They've got over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
I had to leave for a minute. So how many people on here now? Only 3 of us want to do it? I didn't get to vote.
Yeah. Oh, I was just asking, what do you guys think? I'm definitely going to do it because I feel like I have to do it. And I'm going to spend a whole lot. I think what I'll save on ads on Amazon and Facebook and all those other things is going to more than pay for this.
Are you doing it with Puppy Pickup?
Well, I currently have a book that's being illustrated, my number 2 in the series. So I don't think of it as I'm doing it with a specific book, because don't forget, it's a business plan. It's a it's your author bio. It's your learning how to write the copy and what needs to go onto your author page. So I'll probably use Puppy Pickup Day as that, but I also want to use my new book, and I want to take what I'm learning and apply it also to the coloring books that I have, because I have 3 coloring books out there. I've got a Spanish version of my Puppy Pickup Day, French, and Russian versions as well. So I've got like all of these things that I've created that just I want to take, all this amazing learning and figure out in this business plan, okay, Lyda, how do I not go crazy in a million different directions, but how do I really brand and, what is my business plan? Where are my readers? How do I, like you said, how do you find them? I don't know. I feel like I still have so much to learn. And, there are some things that I've been through many times, like the publishing process, the illustration, managing this stuff is really easy to me. But some of the other stuff is just so foreign a concept that I know that I need that. And it's not just for one book. It's for me, it's for my business to learn, because it's going to apply to everything.
So even with all my other little books, it would help, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So I'm definitely in.
And I'm definitely in. Sounds like we've got at least 3 of us. And then, like I said, if budget is an issue, and believe me, I know because I've been pinching my pennies as well, I have taken advantage of the PayPal, like I think it's 6 payment. You can break it up into 6 payments, I think, maybe a little more than that. But that helps. I mean, $500 divided by 6 isn't
Well,
terrible.
I would like to do it.
Sorry, Barbara, is that you?
Yeah, my internet is not working
That's
very
okay.
well.
That's okay. So it sounds like
I would love to do it, but September we're traveling back to Phoenix, so there's going to be a week there that I don't know if I can participate. Is the thing.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 day a week, and she'll let us know what day that is. So it's yeah, you've got to really think about can you commit, because it's going to take. And I think that's one of the things that's positive about, signing up in these work groups where you actually have to take money out of your pocket and fork it out. It's like now you're going to be committed to, I have to commit to that hour and a half. I have to do my homework. I'm scraping pennies and, pinching pennies to do this, not having coffee or whatever in the morning, my bagel and coffee in the morning, because I really feel like I'm putting this as a top priority. So that's what, for me, I feel like I have to do that, but you've got to figure out whether it's going to work for you. And Lyda will probably, I think she said she's going to poll anybody who's interested to see what days and times people can do, kind of similar like what we did with this author work group, trying to figure out the days and times people can make it, and then kind of go from there.
Sounds like a no-brainer. It's a smart investment.
Right.
Am I at a good point to do that though? I'm still, like you said, I don't have one book under my belt yet, and hopefully I get it done by the end of the year, but
yeah, I think, like I said, it's something you really need to think about. I don't believe that it's a requirement to have a book under your belt, because if it was me, and I think somebody else mentioned it too, maybe it was Lauren, that it was like, I wish I had done this before I started working on books, because there's so much that you need to know. And this is literally no pressure from me. This is something that you need to be ready for. So if it's not a good time in your life, financially or personally, because you're juggling lots of kids and, other things, then, just think about it and see what goes on. And it sounds to me like there'll be other opportunities. This probably will not be the last time this is going to be offered. So I'll continue to work with people like Lyda to bring, like, this is a 50% off of what, because I was originally talking one-on-one to Lyda and signing up for her services and trying to figure out how I was going to budget for that. And it was going to be $500 a month for me to work with her. So I was thinking, how am I going to do this? Where am I going to do it? And then we came up with this idea of doing it as a work group and getting the benefit of this group together. And now all of a sudden that's 50%, because if I would have done 2 months worth of work with her, that would have been $1,000. So now it went down, and I was going to do it then. So now it went down to 500. So like I said,
Rita might be interested.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I'm going to share this. There's not many of us on. We have 50 people registered for our work group, and many of them, get on and watch these things as a replay. So I'll make sure that an email goes out to let people know, hey, there's a really special offer here. Watch the replay.
Well, Rita was in your first group.
Yes, I love Rita. She's awesome. She is awesome. She still does drop in from time to time and
right.
and do some coaching with me. Yeah, she's awesome.
Okay.
I love her illustrations.
She illustrated my Swan book.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely. Didn't you just win an award for that too?
She did. Well, the book did, but it's her illustrations that won.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot to learn, and it's a very, like, do not be pressured. We will find other avenues. If this is not the right time for you, there will be more. This is not going to be a one and done. You must do it now. Otherwise, you're not going to get this, because we'll figure other things out that will help for the group. and more special offers and things. As I work with people that are just phenomenal, I just want to bring them to the group and say, hey, what can we do? What more can we learn? Same reason I bring these really awesome illustrators to the group, because I've worked with them and it's worked out really well, and I know that they'll give you a positive experience. So I think that's where Lyda is as well. I feel very confident in her knowledge and abilities and excited about moving forward with her. But there will be, like I said, there will be other things that we will do as a group, whether it's before this group ends or whether it's afterwards, and we're, you know, moving this group into our advanced author group. So after we graduate from this group, or after, you know, you'll be alumni, there's an advanced Facebook group that I add everybody to that wants to join, and we'll keep, you're not going to lose the community that we have here. So we will continue to support each other through this, whether it's Misty, who's just getting ready to launch her first, you know, her first book, and she needs people to spread the word, or if it's, you know, Barbara, you're ready to launch your grandmother, you know, grandparent book. We will all be there, and that's my goal, is that this community is this there to feed upon each other, and those that are really good in one area and not good in another, maybe they'll help somebody who needs help in the area they're strong, and they'll get help from somebody else in the group that is strong where they're weak. So together, I think we can, you know, make this something that doesn't have to be as stressful for authors or feel as isolating and lonely.
Are there expenses involved as far as the work that you do in a group like that? I mean, aren't there additional expenses?
So if she's teaching us how to run Facebook ads or Amazon ads or things like that, in order to practice that, you're going to need to invest a little bit in doing that. I do not believe that there's any like books to purchase. The business plan, she's going to give us all of the documentation. The publicity kit that we put together, media kit, press kit, that it's just a template that she's going to provide. So it's more about learning, reaching out to influencers. I guess that's one area where I would question. In some cases, influencers want to charge. And I remember Lyda saying that she doesn't recommend we, you know, going in that direction. She recommends finding somebody that does it because they want to help promote authors in their specific niche, not because they're getting paid for it. So the only thing I can think of, and I will ask Lyda, only thing I can really think of right now is ad spend when it comes time. But you would do that anyway with your book. If you didn't, you would not do very well. It wouldn't sell very well.
What's the time factor with this group and what we're doing? How are we going to be finished by the time hers starts?
There's going to be a 2-week overlap. So okay. She's talking about starting this group the first week of September. And our group, actually, if you think about it, the first week of September, the end of that week is when we should be finished with the group, except we skipped the 4th of July. So I tagged an extra week on for those that wanted to stay for an extra week. So it's just about at the end. It's not completely finished, but pretty close. I'm excited about trying to get all this stuff done before Christmas. Like, I want to learn this stuff so that I can apply it for Christmas sales.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. You're right. It is a lot. Yep.
And especially, I mean, in my situation where I'm both doing the writing and the illustrating, I feel a little overwhelmed at times.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
In a reasonable amount of time.
Well, and that's one of those areas, Pat, where you might want to think about what of those areas do you really love the most? Because, like Lyda was saying, she outsources some things that she just doesn't doesn't love as much as others. So there are illustrators that'll take your sketches and move forward with them. There are people that can do PR, and you can pay them to do it, or you can learn by reading and doing other things. So it's what do you want to do is kind of the biggest question.
Yeah, I've been thinking about the coloring on the dragons and wondering if I should outsource that part, since the drawings are done and the outlines for the coloring book are done.
Yep.
But the next step is getting the coloring done and the design work as far as getting the text on the pages.
Well, I certainly have a couple of people free that are available. I don't know how much longer they will be free, but Jose has been really, he's a whiz with the digital coloring, and I just love the style that he has a couple of different styles that he works in. So certainly if you're interested, I'll mention this while I'm on, whether you're hearing this from a pre-recorded or live. He actually agreed to do some free samples to try to show people what he can do. Because he's a new illustrator, he's got 3 books under his belt. So he's not a newbie like right out of school, but he's having trouble with people trusting like that, because there's people like Harry that have been doing it 15, 20 years, and Pradeep, who's 30 years in. So he is looking for people who want samples, and then if it works out well and you like his work, then perhaps he can drum up some business that way. So it's completely up to you if you're interested. It can't hurt to get a sample done of your character and see if he's a good fit. And what I love about Jose, I'll just put a plug in for him, is that his English is phenomenal, and he's in the Eastern Standard Time. So for me, that's great, because a lot of the people that I work with as illustrators are in India. I think all but him are in India. So we're on the same time zone, and it's really easy. His English is fantastic, so it's really easy to work with him. And he lives in Venezuela. So.
And what does he usually charge for?
So his rate is anywhere from 30 to 40 a page, depending on what it is you're looking for. Your story is very simple, so you'd probably be around $30 a page for that.
Well, this is for the dragon book.
Oh yeah.
The dragon book.
Okay. So, and then you're also illustrating. You're creating the drawings. So it would be worth you send me something that you've got outlined, and I can have him do the coloring on it, or give you a sample of what he would do digitally with the coloring. And that would be helpful. It's hard for new illustrators to break into the business, because authors do spend an awful lot of money and so much invested in their books that it's hard to trust someone new. So I can definitely see, his effort he's doing his best to move, to work, do as much as he can to earn trust from the authors.
Yeah, this could be pretty pricey, though. I'm looking at this and thinking we're probably talking close to $800 then.
Hold on, you really sound very distant. Let me just turn up my thing. What were you saying? You think it's ends up being pricey?
Yeah. It's close to $800.
Yeah.
$800 a page per character.
So his is 35 a page, 30 to 35 a page. Now you also have Ezio, which she was the other artist that worked on your cover. And she is by far the least expensive illustrator that I've worked with. And she's $15 a page.
And I did like her coloring.
Yep.
She was the one who came up
Yeah.
She has the best color ranges.
Yep. So she is somebody that is very professional. I think she's got like 30 years of experience. I don't know how she possibly does everything for such an inexpensive price. But if, you know, it's another thing that you don't know if you're going to like the style until you actually see a sample. And I think with her, I think she's charged like $15 for a sample. So it's not much at all.
Well, they're done. I mean, these characters are complete.
Yeah, but you want to see how she'll do coloring them.
Right.
And so that work will take her, you know, who knows how long. I'm not an illustrator, but so I always try to compensate somebody for their time because people, yeah. So I think she'll charge about 15, but if you're interested and you need help kind of coordinating things, let me know. If you prefer to just contact her directly, don't feel like just because I'm telling you, hey, I'll help you manage the project, that you have to go through me for any of this. You're more than welcome to go directly, and I'll give you the contact information if you want to deal directly with the illustrator. Some people do. I'm one that I like to be in control and do my own thing because that's just who I am as a project manager. So if somebody told me, hey, I have this great illustrator, but you have to go through me, I would probably not like that very much. So if there are people out there that are like that and saying, I don't want to go through her, don't worry about it. You don't have to. If you need help from me with project management, I'm here to help. But you have, I can pass along contact info for the illustrators as well.
Well, I have her contact information.
Okay.
But I was very happy with you helping me through it.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to do that. I'm glad to do that. Yep.
It was huge what you did.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. And I think the difference between having a project manager, somebody like myself who can wrangle everything in. So here's some of the things, my project management tips for you guys. Number one, when you start with an illustrator or whatever you're doing, whether it's, you know, it's a video editor or anybody that you're going to bring onto your project, number one, have a conversation together face to face. Use Zoom. If you don't know what Zoom is or how to use it, I can give you access to use my account and, you know, schedule something where you guys can both hop on and talk, but or coordinate. But do a face-to-face walk through and talk about your vision. Allow that person to really understand it from your point of view. And Patty and I, example, we went through today. We met with Harry Avera. We walked through illustrations that he had finished up to a certain point, and then we had feedback on the illustrations that he had delivered. So we could have easily just left a bunch of comments in a page, you know, on a document, and then everybody, you know, translates things a little bit differently. Without that face-to-face conversation and, hey, can you tell me what that means again? Because I don't quite get what you meant. There's going to be wasted time. You're going to go back and forth. I'll give you an example, a funny example. One of Patty's illustration notes, it said that one of the characters had a net and they were like trying to scoop into the water to find this object that they were looking for. Well, when I saw the first pass at the drawing, it was a fishing net. So it's funny, right? I mean, but it's a net. So he didn't have, like, he just came at it at a different perspective. And the illustrator is from India, different culture. So if you don't spend the time talking about your vision, get through it, make sure that your contract is signed early, you get it out of the way. I have a template. I'm glad to share with you that I use for the illustrators. Every one of the illustrators that I bring to this group all agree with my terms for the contract, which is you own the licensing. You're not paying anything for, for royalties. They sign non-disclosure, so they're not allowed to, you know, to share information about your book prematurely. And all of this is already done for you. You're just plugging in the names. And I sent the contract today for Jackie. I'm plugging in, keeping the same terms. I break it out in the contract because this is all lessons learned, right? I'm not smarter than anybody else. I've just made more mistakes along the way in my lifetime managing vendors in the IT world and in the business world. And I've got 35 years of doing that. So 35 years of mistakes, you learn how to avoid mistakes. So
who owns the illustrations? Who owns the illustrations? The artist or the author?
Artist. Sorry, the author owns the illustrations.
So the author will own the illustrations.
Author owns the illustrations. There are no royalties. You the other piece of it is you're allowing them. I put a thing in there saying that they can use it in their portfolio when it's okay with you. Like when you tell them it's okay, like not before you're going live, do they, put something that's gonna blow your surprise, book cover launch, kind of thing. So, but they're allowed to use it in their portfolio, which is great for people like Jose. And I recommended to him, I said, look, you're a new illustrator. You need to build trust. You need to have new things in your portfolio. So why not volunteer to do some samples? Take the samples you do, throw them in your portfolio. And now more people see what you're capable of. You're gonna build that trust with the author community. So, but yeah, the contract, instead of having 2 to 3 months worth of contract negotiations like I had for my first book, it took me a couple of hours to brush off that contract, send it to Jackie. She'll sign it, and so will Harry, and they could be together talking tomorrow about their next steps and just what her vision is for her book. Patty is a perfect example of what can happen if you've got really good communication. She did a great job of documenting her notes. And that's another thing I'll tell you. If you really want to be able to gain a lot of traction quickly, do a good job finding an illustration style, communicating that to your illustrator, giving notes, page 1, page 2, page 3. And I was coaching Jackie on this a little bit today because she's lining up all of her, her books and her page turns, and she's got her book dummy. She is in a great spot now to be able to meet with Harry and to be able to hit the ground running. And Harry's got a couple of assistants. He's going to have work on some initial drawings, sketches, character design, while he's finishing up Patty's book, and then boom, he's going to be off and running. 3 or 4 weeks, that'll be done. Jackie's book will be illustrated. And this is the kind of thing, when you've got really good communication, that can happen. And what I try to do as a project manager is have weekly touch bases, make sure everybody going into the project knows exactly when each deliverable is going to happen. So in the contract, it specifies 4 deliverables. Upon signing of the contract, it's 30% payment. And then upon delivery and approval of the pencil sketches, it's 20% more. So then you're at 50%. Now they go off in color, and you get the next 30%. And then it's back and forth, get it to exactly where you want it. And then final delivery, they get their last 20%. So that is because I've been burned way too many times with vendors that say, we need 50% up front. And then they take your money and then you don't see them again. There's just a lot of that stuff that can happen. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, this happened. Oh, that happened. And while you've invested 50% and you don't have anybody holding them accountable. So I try to be that person holding them accountable, because I'm here to make sure your book gets the best possible launch, and as quickly and as efficiently and as stress-free, if there's such a thing, launching a book, as possible. Now, what I do with the illustrator is they look to me because I'm also helping them connect with authors and get business. So when I come to them and say, hey, look, you missed a deadline. If you want more business coming your way from me, you've got to make this right. So that's the kind of management that I'm doing behind the scenes that you guys don't even, I try to keep the stress off of you, and I'm making sure they know, hey, we've got a deadline coming. Are you on track? What do we need to do to recapture? Are you working this weekend, or do you have your assistant doing something? So I'm doing all that kind of niggling things behind the scenes with my magic wand, and I try to do that so that you guys can have as smooth and carefree a launch as possible. So I'll stop talking because I feel like I've been talking too much, but I know that it is really close to Christmas, when you start backing into how long it takes to do printing and other things. But if you say things go really well, it's 4 weeks, a day or two for the contract, 4 weeks for the illustration. And if you put it on print on demand, you don't need 6 to 8 weeks lead time. So you still can release and have a fantastic Christmas selling season this year. See how your sales go. And you could even say, gee, after Christmas, I think I'm going to go do a Kickstarter, and I'm going to raise, my budget's going to be how much money I need to print the hardcover. And then see what happens. Maybe you'll have enough. Maybe the sales will be enough that it automatically drives you to say, hey, I'm moving forward with the print book. But if not, there's crowdfunding and there's other opportunities and things that we can guide you through that as well. Anybody else have questions or comments?
So you mean do a paperback and then do a paperback first and then the hardcover?
That's what I'm doing. Yep. And I'll tell you, I'll always be very real with you guys. I don't know everything. I made a lot of mistakes. When I first put my book out there, I created the ebook and I printed. I did, because I kept hearing, print, you'll get much more sales, more profitable. So I have about 1,000 books sitting in my back room, just stacked in boxes that are all hardcovers. My book didn't sell as much as I thought it would. And they've been sitting there since last Christmas. I had 2,000 to start with. I probably sold 1,000. I've sold ebooks, I've sold coloring books, but I'm talking about the hardcover of Puppy Pickup Day. It's awful that they're sitting there, and I wish they weren't. So now, as I'm looking ahead, I don't want to make that same mistake again. I don't want to pay. And my husband said, look, you've got 1,000 books sitting in boxes there. Charge $3 and you've got $3,000 you can use towards your next book. I know I made bad choices or decisions, or maybe they were good decisions for other people, but it didn't work out for me. So I'm trying to do things in a way that is going to be less likely for me to lose a lot of money or have to put out a lot of money in order for me to be able to become profitable. So I look up to authors like Lori Wright, who does not print anything hardcover. Everything's print on demand. When her books, if you look up Lori Wright and her books, they're beautifully designed. She's got beautifully illustrated books, very simple, mindful mantras. They're very it's very in vogue. Everybody wants to talk about mindfulness and, important topics for your kids. When her books go live, they get discounted by Amazon. So she might list her books at $17 and they're down to like 12 or 13 because Amazon discounts them. And that comes out of Amazon's pocket, not hers. So she gets many, 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 many sales. And she just keeps putting that into more books. She hasn't invested in anything for hardcovers. And that's one person's story. For her, it was the right story. For Diane and for Jay, they have done a fantastic job with marketing. And I feel like both of them are so good with marketing, press, influencers, and creating buzz about their books. I feel like that's where I'm missing. And that's where they're just really shining and doing a great job. So their decision to print the hardcovers and print as many as possible work for them. So it's going to be a very personal journey, but I just want to say that there is still time, not much time, but there is still time to have something released this year. If you really want to strive for that, I'm here to help you through it.
So hard versus soft. Like soft really don't have a spine, right? I noticed when I went to the library, every single one of the children books are all hardcover.
So
do you order?
They do. Normally, the libraries will order the hardcover.
Will they?
Not the soft cover. However, if you really want you want your book in libraries, you can do print on demand hardcover through Ingram Spark.
Okay.
And you can call it the library edition. You're not going to have much for profit because the way that Ingram Spark works with their hardcover pricing, for my little book, it's 6x9. It's a very small little book. This one here. So for this little book, 6x9 hardcover, I would have had to charge like $21 to make $1 on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now I understand from others who have gone through Ingram Spark for paperback that it's not as bad, like to have them print paperback on demand. But to me, paperback, I would rather just print through KDP because Amazon will give its own, I feel like in my heart, Amazon's going to say, oh, this is our print on demand. This is Ingram Spark print on demand. Which one are they going to give the ads to and the impressions to? Probably not. Probably their own is going to get more. So I just felt like, sticking with KDP for the print, for the paperback is good. If you have a certain number of pages in your paperback, you do get a spine. But libraries will not order paperback. They always order the spine, and they order the hardcover, and it has to, like, there are certain rules on like what it needs to have on the spine, like the name of the author, the title, and the publishing company. So there are certain things you want to do with your hardcover when you're ready, or you can set it up in Ingram and just put it out there for whatever, the least, even if it's just breaking even, allow the libraries to order your book and get into libraries. So it doesn't mean just because you are not doing hardcover printing yourself that you can't get into libraries, because you can still do hardcover print on demand. It's just not profitable.
Yeah.
But it does meet a need of getting into libraries. And it does sound like what Lyda was saying is that we do have a lot of opportunity for that once the libraries start buying it and you're targeting libraries, that you get checks for, how much are they renting it out or how much are they taking it out. So it might be something that is well worth it, even if all you do is break even.
Yeah.
Ingram Spark, your paperback needs to be 48 pages for a little tiny spine.
Yeah. Yeah, and but KDP, it does provide a spine if you get a certain number of pages as well. And I'd have to go back and research what that is, but yeah, I know that paperback is not going to last as long, for at least for my crew of grandkids. So, but it is, a lot of times people that are buying, especially if we're looking ahead for the holidays, they're buying impulse buys, things for, to add to presents or gift baskets and things like that, buying for a nephew, a grandchild. And when I look at how much sales that Lori is getting on all her paperbacks, not having any hardcovers, I'm just amazed. So I think that there is a real market for the paperbacks. And I remember one author from the UK saying that they don't buy hardcovers. They're like, really, everything's all paperback there. So I don't know how, if that's true for everybody, but there is a huge market for hardcovers not just in the US. I mean, for soft covers, not just in the US, but in the UK and other areas where that's all, that's really the most popular thing is paperback. Just about 5 minutes left before the top of the hour. So does anybody have anything else? I feel like I've been talking so much, and I'm not trying to, monopolize the conversation, but there's a lot of good topics today. I was really glad that Lyda was able to join us. And, like I said, it's a great opportunity that we'll have with her. It won't be the last one. I'm sure that we will schedule others. All right, ladies and Nick. Ladies and Nick. Nick, I hope you feel better. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. We'll see you
Thank you,
Thursday.
April.
Right.
Bye.
Thursday, Nicole Lavoie will be here to talk about graphic design and what a graphic designer does and why you need one. So I'll see you on Thursday. Feel free to ping me if you have any needs or you want to talk about your book. Even just grab time on my calendar if you need to. All right.
You wigged out there. What's she going to talk about?
Oh, graphic design, graphic designer, why you need one and what do they do? So,
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll be able to talk about that. Okay. Bye, ladies.
Good night.
Good night.